And for the last couple of years, we've had a distinguished alumni come back, and our distinguished alumni this year is a former valedictorian of New Richmond High School, and he has also been Big East. He went to the University of Cincinnati on a track scholarship. Actually, I don't think they gave. Where's Eric Finan? Come on up here. Eric, they didn't have. Eric, come on up here, buddy. If the University of Cincinnati gave track scholarships, he would have gotten one. Because they have them now?
Well, they had them, and I got one when they had them, then they dropped it for 3 years, and now they're reinstated.
So bad timing for you, right? And so he's the 5K record holder. He is the Big East Student Athlete of the Year for the entire conference. Getting his undergrad degree in mechanical engineering, and at the same time getting his master's in business. So he is an impressive definition of a student athlete, and we're really pleased that he was willing to come and talk to you for this morning for a few minutes. Would you like to be behind the podium or in front of the podium? Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nothing like getting to welcome all the teachers that you had back to their work year. So felt, I guess, privileged to be here this morning. So anyway, as Mr. Bird introduced me, I'm Eric Finan, and I graduated here in 2007. I recognize most of you, not all of you. So thumbs up to the new teachers here and those ones I've never had. But anyway, I wanted to first talk about sort of my experience at New Richmond High School, and I like to joke about it with my mother. For those of you who know my mom, she says still to this day, you know, sometimes I wish we would have sent you to a private school or a different school. And I always come back and say that I'm glad that I attended New Richmond High School. I'm very glad that I had my experiences as a young man, as a young adult here at this high school. I think the diversity that you get at a public high school, at a public institution, is unlike any other. But I think it goes beyond more than just that. I think my mom, she sort of thinks, well, maybe at a private school you would have had this. But in my mind, I say, at a public school you have this. And in the long run, my true belief is that your education is what you make of it. And that's really, no matter where you go, your education is what you make of it. And you all laid that foundation, that sort of aura, that place for stimulation and for learning. And so for that, I thank you deeply. And secondly, I'd like to ask you not to bring that up with my mother. I would say, to talk about things that work for me, I know sort of my experience here, and these are things that just work for me, and I'm not a teacher, you guys are, and you guys are the professionals here, I'm just kind of a young kid. But I want to talk about the things that worked for me as I was a high school student, that I learned by doing, and I think most people are like that, but especially me. I think that's a good model, learn by doing, and I remember in physics when we talked about linear motion, that we were doing these egg drop experiments. And so, yeah, we talked about velocity and acceleration and position and all those functions, but by doing the egg drop experiment and getting to put an egg inside of something and dropping it off the back of the bleachers, I think that really made it come to life. That made it make sense. We got to time it, and then all those equations, those Newtonian physics equations, they came to life. Same thing with biology. When we did a genetic experiment, we bred the fruit flies, and you get to see the way genetic genes pass on through generations. And those are the things, you know, we learn by doing, and those are the things that really applied and really took root in my life. And I just wanted to share those things with you, that those were the things that made a difference, and you are the people who made those things in my life possible. In terms of what I really enjoyed the most while I was at New Richmond, I think it was the teachers who were engaged and excited. And I can say that in all aspects of our lives, there are some things we get excited about and some things we are not so excited about. But I can say that as a student, it was pretty easy to tell when a teacher was really engaged and excited and when a teacher really wasn't engaged and excited. And so I would say that I really appreciated those teachers that put forth an honest effort, who put forth that engaging effort to try to make subjects relevant, to make the difficult things graspable. And two teachers I want to call out who I don't believe are here are firstly Mr. Zimmerman. He was my calculus teacher, and he was excellent. He was very challenging. He was extremely challenging. I think he routinely had kids leaving his class crying. But I would like to thank him for how challenging he was. He really set that bar very high, and it was very difficult, but at the same time, it was a very realistic challenge. And I very much appreciated that when I got to college, and even beyond college. It makes me think, well, how high can I set that bar? How challenging can it be? And then the other one I want to recognize, I guess I also don't think he is here, is Mr. Gabriel. He was my AP biology teacher. And I think he often would get frustrated with us as a class, but he was supremely good at being patient and answering each question very methodically. And taking that patient, having the patience to answer those questions, even if it was the fourth or fifth time. Now, there are time constraints, of course, but I think he was very good at balancing the needs of the class versus the curriculum, and at the end of the day, what needed to get done. And so I want to recognize him for how patient he was with methodically answering our questions. Now, I guess as for me, right now, to give an update on my life, not because you all are, of course, interested in me. I currently work as a mechanical design engineer for a small company called Metal Solutions. We just make shipping containers. They're fancy boxes, as I tell people, so nothing all that special. But moving forward, I've actually signed a contract with a professional distance team in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And the team name is Team USA Minnesota, and it's an Olympic training center. And I'm very excited about the opportunity that I have moving forward with that. And I do want to tell a small story about that. There was a class that I took in high school called Claremont 2020, sort of a young leadership class. And it was a combined class of different students from all the different Claremont County schools. And there was one day that we had we had a speaker come in. And he was going around the room and he was asking people, you know, what are your aspirations? What do you want to be when you grow up? And of course you have a bunch of high school students that really have no idea. Even in college you have guys that have no idea. And even now I don't have any idea. But, you know, so he was going around and asking, you know, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? What do you want to be? And I remember I raised my hand, and at the time I think I was a senior, and I said, hey, I want to be a professional athlete. And this guy looked at me and said, what, in ping pong? But to this day, I had never forgotten that. And he kind of laughed me off and went to the next person. And it made me realize that, you know, there are those times that are good and bad in our lives, but you all are so involved in young people's lives and encouraging them at this time of formulation that's so important. And so I would encourage you all to never tell somebody that they can't do something. To never tell a kid that he is incapable of doing something, because that makes a lasting impact. You all have such an amazing impact on these students' lives, more so than I think you realize. And so in that same way, please encourage them to be the best that they can be. Lift them up. Encourage them to go beyond, to do better than what they think they can do. Because now I'm thinking about that guy who told me I couldn't be a professional athlete, and I'm laughing in his face and saying, oh yeah, take that. So anyway, with that, I'll make it short and sweet. I know you guys, it's pretty warm in here. I think there's a better speaker up next than me than you all are interested in. So with that, I'll hand the microphone back over. Thank you for your time. Have a good year.